Everybody want to put in the chat box where they're from? This is really cool. You met me at Norwalk Community College years ago in their early childhood program. So great to see you back, Sarah. Thank you. Jean from Iowa, Shreya from New Hampshire. This is awesome. Nicole from Hawaii. Do we have 2 Hawaii people there?
I wish.
Yeah. Oh, Sarah, right? Yeah, me too. It's snowing here. So Sandy from Middletown, New York, Terry from New Jersey, Jesse from Albany, Alexis from Danbury, Connecticut, Colleen from, of course, Rhode Island. This is great. Oh, we're from all over. Isn't that fun? This is really amazing. And we've got Shannon. Shannon's jumping on. I know she's from New Hampshire. This is great. Julianne from Arkansas. I see her there. Good to see you, Julianne. Thanks for joining. Oh, all right. We've got 20 people already. Michael from Groton, New Hampshire. Hey, Michael. Good to see you. We're just writing where we're from in the chat box before we get going here. So welcome everyone to Caterpillar Kindness. My name is Scarlett Lewis. I'm the founder of the Jessie Lewis Choose Love movement. Some of you I know and I love everyone. Some of you I know and love. I know some of you are educators using the program. We have ambassadors, we've got team members, and we've got some new faces on here. And I'm so happy to see everyone. Thank you so much for joining. And we have 2 very, very special guests. We have Marissa Naz. Do you want to wave, Marissa? She is an educator at MAS Charter in New Mexico, and her mom, Sharon Hughes, who wrote this incredible book. This is what the title of our webinar tonight is called Caterpillar Kindness. And so I'm hoping that she will read her wonderful children's book towards the end. And, it's kind of a story, which is why I loved this. And it starts off a little bit difficult, and like some stories do, but then there's some beautiful growth, and it wound up with this beautiful children's book. And then Marissa doing what she does now, which is amazing, but also she learned a lot from some really tough experiences. So Marissa, I would love for you to say hello to everybody and maybe just share a little bit of your story. And by the way, I'm going to be monitoring the chat box. So if anybody has any questions along the way, is it okay with you, Marissa and Sharon, if they can ask them?
Oh, of course.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Ask away. I'm a teacher. I love questions.
Exactly.
Right, that's
what we
right.
do. Ask and we'll try to answer.
You're used to being interrupted. And so are you, Sharon. Sharon, you're a kindergarten teacher as well, correct?
Actually, I work at a school called DLD, which stands for Designs for Learning Differences. And my classroom is kind of like a one-room schoolhouse. I have children from 1st grade to 5th grade in one room, all with learning disabilities and differences of learning. And we have 8 children in the class that I teach, and there's 5 in the classroom next door, and we combine off and on, and I love it.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. And Marissa, what is the age group that you teach again?
I teach 2nd and 3rd grade.
2nd and 3rd grade. Okay. All right. Well, you and I had a podcast, and I thought you were so brave to be sharing, a difficult story, but that I think that we, almost all of us, can relate to in one way or another. And maybe we were on one side of the fence or the other, or at least we witnessed things like this going on. But I will say that when I started the movement, of course, I started for school as being a proponent of school safety, but then I realized that there were a lot of issues that were continuing to escalate despite our best efforts. that had been going on when I was young and have reached, I mean, it's, we talk about the pandemic and the numbers involved in the pandemic, and of course they're horrendous and they're a lot. But when you think about these issues, like the issue of bullying, the numbers are far, I don't even know like if there's a term for it. It wouldn't be pandemic, it would be endemic maybe of our culture and society. And it's still going on despite billions of dollars by the federal government that they spend every single year on anti-bullying programs. We still have an issue with it, and I know that it does relate a lot to the educator and how the educator teaches it. I know Nicole Grimes in Hawaii does an amazing job with an anti-bullying program. But, you know, a lot of times, obviously, you know, the federal government started tracking bullying in 2003. And since then, it has grown. And that's just traditional bullying. That's not cyberbullying, which we really don't even have a handle on. So, and this is a topic you're thinking she tricked us into coming here tonight because she said it was all about caterpillar kindness. And now what is she doing talking about bullying? But bullying is an issue. And if you don't think it's an issue in schools, well, these kids that do, they graduate, and then the bullying extends into homes, into communities, into the workplace. I've experienced it myself, and it's not comfortable. So Marissa, I'm going to get back to you. If you would kind of share, you know, your experiences and which really helped shape and mold you to be the person that you are today.
Yeah. First, if I get emotional, I apologize.
Number one. Number two, my mother doesn't know half of these stories, so if she gets emotional, I apologize. Scarlett somehow brought all of those stories out in me when we talked, and I had forgotten about some of them, but I'm totally fine with it. Let's see. I guess
we're all here in love for you, Marissa. And we're all here because we want to be part of the solution. And nobody here would have found out about this unless they followed the Jessie Lewis Choose Love movement or saw us on social media. And they're very interested. And you know, your story can really help a lot of people.
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of backtrack. So I started teaching at MAS last year, and it was introduced to the Choose Love program. And last year I taught 5th grade. And 5th grade's a very rough year. It was for me. I remember when I was in 5th grade, it was one of those years where you either loved it or hated it. And there was a lot of bullying going on. And when I was introduced to the Choose Love program, I was like, finally, a program that doesn't turn on the bully part of the brain. A program that turns on the love and the compassion and how to be a normal human being part of the brain. Because when I was in school, the anti-bully programs, in my opinion, turned on that bully part of the brain and told the bullier how to bully. They gave the bullier ideas. Oh, you can blackmail. You can, I wear skirts. I don't wear pants. I wear skirts. You can rip her skirt off. Yes, I've been in that situation. You can shove them in lockers. But all of this is bullying, and we don't want to do that. Well, you just gave them all new ideas on how to bully. And I remember we had an anti-bully session I think it was every Tuesday or Thursday. And it was the worst hour of my life. It made me prepared for what was about to happen to me. But it was let's go test it out now. You just gave me all these ideas, so we're going to go test it out. And anything from being shoved into a trash can and rolled down a hill, to I don't cut my hair, to the kids behind me taking pieces of my hair, cutting it, and then passing it around the classroom so everyone had a piece of me, to shoved in lockers, de-skirted, because I didn't wear pants, so de-skirted. There was a phase, and they got this from an anti-bully program, where if you breathe super hard and then put your hand on that person's neck, you'll actually make them pass out for about 1 to 2 minutes. And when you wake up, everyone around you's laughing. And you're like, obviously you're passed out. You don't understand what's going on. And it's one of those things where you don't talk about it because it makes the situation worse. Because then those people are like, oh, so you ratted me out, so now I'm going to go make your life 10 times harder than it was before. And I was almost like I don't care if you were a cool kid or the bad kid, you had to pick on me in any circumstance anyone could possibly think of. So when I heard about the Choose Love and I started teaching it and I started reading about it, I was like, oh my word, this is an anti-bully program. And I got super scared. And I was like, I'm not about to teach kids how to bully because I'm not going to be that person. And when I read it, I realized, wait a second, it's an anti-bully program, but we're actually almost tricking those minds into how to be compassionate and how to be loving and how to be caring. And I told the kids some of my bully stories, but I kept it I didn't talk about bullying. We talked about love. We talked about how can we show support? How can we do this? How can we do that? And those fifth graders turned into some of the most loving kiddos I've ever seen. And they now see me in the hallway, and now I'm Miss Noss because I got married, but they're like, Miss Hughes, Miss Hughes, Miss Hughes. And one of the notes I actually got for Valentine's Day actually says, thank you for Choose Love and never giving up on me, because you taught me that I'm okay being who I am. And she's a super, like, she's an Amazon type of girl. I finally figured out who the note was from, by the way.
Okay.
She's an Amazon type of girl, and everyone picked on her because of it. And I was like, why? Like, does it matter? Like, it doesn't matter what we look like. Why are we picking on her? And so getting that note on Valentine's Day, and now this, I was like, oh, I have to text Scarlett. But I was like, no, wait, I'm going to tell her in person. She literally said, thank you for the Choose Love, and thank you for never giving up on me, because of you, I'm stronger and I'm confident, and I feel like I can actually go out into the world and be myself. And that's what Choose Love is really all about. It's teaching them how to love their inner person and then express that self in a way that a bully program, in my opinion, doesn't do, because a bully program just gives you ammunition than anything else.
You know, that's interesting, Marissa, because I remember in the days when I used to have dinner parties, which was a long time ago, and it doesn't happen anymore, obviously, but way before COVID. I remember JT had just, I think he was in middle school. He had just gone through Drug Awareness Week. And so I had a big bunch of people at the table, and he would sit there, and they all knew him. And I always thought it was nice for him to be able to speak with everybody. And I guess he didn't think that. So I'm looking over at him, and he's kind of really bored. It's after dinner, and he's pantomiming doing drugs. I'm looking at, everybody's talking, and he's going, and I'm like, what are you doing? I'm so embarrassed, right? Like, are you kidding me? What are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm injecting myself with, I don't, like meth, or I don't know. So he said something, and I go, where did you learn to do that? And he said, drug abuse awareness class. He's like, I know every drug and what the street name is, where to buy it, how to administer it, how much it costs. And I was like, wait a minute, I think that we're doing something wrong. Because you had made a comment to me, Marissa, kind of like you felt like some of the anti-bullying programs almost teach techniques to the bullies, and then they actually use those techniques afterwards. And
Oh, yeah.
that resonated with me when I saw JT coming home and doing that, and just thinking, wait a minute, that's what he took away from that. And that's a lot. So then Sharon, you you knew about this to some extent. Obviously, Marissa didn't want to tell you everything because
Right.
she didn't want you to probably hurt as she did. And but then that kind of shaped how you responded, and that has something to do with your book, Caterpillar Kindness, as well.
Right. Um, I actually taught at the same school.
Mhm.
So I was a kindergarten teacher. She started in 4th grade. So I knew some of it, and I would talk a little bit to the school psychologist, and actually that school psychologist just made it worse on Marissa.
Yep.
It was more like it was her fault. So
Oh yeah, it was always my
it
fault.
was not a good thing.
It's always my fault that I got bullied or I got
Right.
my hair cut or things like that. You know, always me.
Oh, But-
Why would that be though? Is there any reasoning behind that?
Because I was a teacher's kid. And because
Oh.
all eyes are on me, oh, you're a teacher's kid. You have to be perfect. So obviously you're not perfect somewhere. And that's why they're picking on you.
right.
It was never the bullier's fault. It was always my fault. It was always, I was doing something wrong. Because back then bullying wasn't as, I don't know.
People didn't pay attention to
Yeah,
it.
people didn't pay attention to it.
They didn't take any credence in it back then. They just didn't.
Yeah.
And then after it continued within the school, other bullying, and the school grew because it started just small. It went only to 5th grade, and then it grew to include middle school.
Mhm.
There was a new group, this was in Colorado, and there was a group that started called Random Acts of Kindness. You may have heard of them, I don't know.
I have, yeah.
Right. Well, they started coming into the school. And that's when we started, going to a lot of their little seminars in the school and their little plays that they would do. And it sparked that whole thought process again of they're not really telling you how to bully, but in some of the stuff they kind of did too. And the teacher my team teacher and I were talking, and she said, you should write a book about this, because I was always making up stories and always making up songs for the kids. And she said, it's just a natural for you. You should do this. And so Marissa and I
Wait a
started
minute.
talking.
Random acts of kindness. How could that translate into kind of teaching you how? Did they talk about techniques and stuff, or I would think that they would just
In a roundabout way.
Mhm.
In a roundabout way, they put on little skits and plays, and in the little skits and plays, some of those things would show up.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, they probably didn't purposely try to give ammunition, but a lot of programs don't realize that that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, they
Unfortunately.
would show, I remember one of them, they would show a skit and it started with this person bullying someone. And I don't remember what that example was, but it showed that. And then it showed, let's turn this into a random acts of kindness instead.
Okay.
And it's like, and that instead is what trips people up.
Right,
Okay.
because what they tried to do was, okay, this is the bad side. You be the person that's the kind person that steps in and stops it.
Yeah.
That's what they tried to teach,
Okay.
was more that kind of an aspect, I think.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you that Jesse Saperstein, I don't know if you're looking in the chat, but he was saying, and this resonates with me, he's waving, perhaps they were jealous because you are a beautiful young woman. They were threatened by you. And by the way, that's what my mom would tell me every time I would come home and somebody would be mean to me. She would say, oh, they're just jealous of you.
Right.
And Jesse says that he heard that as well. What are you doing to bring this on yourself? And that's not ever helpful, and that's not actually ever the case. You never would want to do anything to bring on mistreatment to yourself. You want to be accepted and connected and loved just like everyone else. And I think that it is worth just kind of acknowledging that that 80% of bullies, this is the number that I've seen, have experienced bullying themselves. And most likely that is why they do it, because they have been taught that behavior and they are trying to put their pain on to someone else. So Jesse's saying that he lives with Asperger's syndrome, and bullying was a part of his life until the age of 33, and he is 38 right now. So that's a very long time, Jesse, to live with that, and way too long. And it's true. And it's not just, bullying doesn't just happen at school. Sarah's saying that home life, families, abuse too, between parents or parent and child. So, and it's a problem that continues, and it doesn't, I think maybe like 4 weeks ago, I'm really slow to the game. Okay. 4 weeks ago, I had this aha moment. I was in my front yard and I realized, wait, adults bully worse than kids do. But I hadn't even realized it, because usually when we think about bullying, we think about it as kids. And then I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't end there. It continues, and it actually seems to just progress and get worse. And now it's not just like physical bullying. We have this internet bullying, that people think that they can be behind some sort of name, innocuous name, and they can say whatever they want because they're not saying it to your face, which is really cowardly, the ultimate cowardly. And but that hasn't helped the situation either. And yeah, so Jesse's saying that it wasn't nearly as potent and relentless as when he was in middle school, but it just takes different forms when one is an adult. And I agree. I want you to know that I hear that, Jesse, and I validate that in you. And it is incredibly painful. So I'm sorry, Sharon, you were in the middle of talking about your experience, because hopefully everybody will get to share here tonight, but go ahead.
One of the things with Marissa, and her father always has told her this, her brother used to tell us, she was raised around a lot of adults. Both of my kids, we had more adult friends than they had kid friends. And then we had some play dates and stuff, but both of my children learned confidence in themselves. They learned how to carry themselves. They learned how to be confident. And I think that had something to do with it too. People were afraid of her confidence. And the only way they felt like they could one up her was to bring her down. And, from my standpoint, bullying is purposeful. There's a reason for it. You do it from a foundation of, I'm going to try to hurt you. It is very purposeful. And on the other hand, kindness is purposeful too. If you're not just naturally kind from your heart and mind and soul, if it just doesn't come natural to you, you have to learn to be kind. You have to find those opportunities to teach yourself to be kind. And then the more kind you are, the more opportunities you find, and it starts to become a habit. Kindness becomes a habit, just like bullying does. But it's a choice. You have to be purposeful about both of those. And obviously we want the good to win over the bad. So we need to try to teach to be purposefully kind.
You're speaking our language at Choose Love, and it is, you do have to be purposeful. We do have a negative bias, and we can rewire our brains towards kindness and gratitude and courage and forgiveness and all of that. But it has to be a choice. You do need to choose it, and you can choose it. But here's the interesting thing: when I visit prisons, and I talk to convicted felons or even people that have killed multiple people and they're in there for life, and I tell them about Choose Love, this is like a completely novel concept to them, because they never knew they had a choice. And they literally have told me all they ever knew was anger, hatred, and resentment. And I hear that all the time, every time I go. And this concept that they could choose a loving response is something that they want, but they never knew that they could have. So you're so right, Sharon. I agree with you 100%. Keep going.
I was just the other day talking to my students about they don't know about these. A lot of y'all do. The little cartoon with the little angel and the little devil sitting on your shoulder talking to you.
Yeah.
Which one are you going to listen to? Which one are you going to tell to be quiet and push away? Which one are you going to listen to? And again, it's a choice. And there's just so many opportunities But if you just step back for a couple of seconds, you can go, wait a minute, I can do it this way. And that's the kind response. And even still, even in the school I teach with just a few students in the classroom, we were having an issue with some bullying. And you wouldn't think you would, but you do. And we went through 3 or 4 different things about just kindness, read a couple of books, read this book, did a project I'll show you. And still the 1 or 2 kids were still being bullies. And I just looked at them and I said, that hurts my heart. That just really hurts my heart that all of this has not changed your thought process. And I think that started something more than anything, was that they realized that they hurt me from what they were doing to this other student, and they didn't want to hurt me. And so then they started thinking about it more, and I gave them consequences. You sitting out recess, you're in the room with nobody else, you're not doing nothing. You can't color, you just sit there. Yep, and they cried, but because they finally cried, then I knew it hit them. Because before it was like rolling their eyes and all that kind of stuff. And when they cried, then I knew, now you get it. And it's been better. It's been a lot better.
Scarlett, you said the rewiring of the brain, and we totally talked about that in the podcast, how we have to rewire our brains, and it's not an overnight type of thing. It takes practice and it takes years, and it's definitely something that you can start today, but it's a process, and you can't give up on it, but it's a process. It's all about choosing your battles and choosing what you're going to do and what you're going to say. And one of my favorite sayings, I'm going to say it, Scarlett, are you ready? Is, I love the movie Bambi and Thumper. When little Thumper says, if you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all. And I taught that to my kids, and their little minds, it's like their little minds were like, what? Like, what do you mean? I don't have to be mean? And now I teach 2nd and 3rd grade. And I was like, yes, if what you're going to say to someone is going to hurt their feelings, just don't say it. And they're like, huh? they're like, I have a choice in that? And I'm like, yes. And it's all what it is. My mom's name is Sharon. I just saw that in the chat, sorry. And it's all a choice, and it's all in that rewiring the brain. And again, it's something, I saw Jesse was talking about, it does take time. It's something that's definitely not going to happen overnight that we can really fix. But if we put forth the effort, that's what will fix it in the long run.
And I told my children to, watch people's expression when you're doing something, whether you realize it's bullying or not. Look at their body language, look at their facial expressions, read that, internalize that, and realize they're not accepting this very well, and then back off. You have to make the choice, but you have to choose to watch how what you're doing is affecting them. Don't choose to go, oh, I'm making a difference in them and I'm going to, make it worse. Instead, step back and go, I wouldn't want somebody to treat me that way, so I'm not going to treat them that way.
And I think empathy is a important part in this. Understanding that you're hurting somebody. And it was interesting, Sharon, when you said that once the kids cried, you think they really realized that they had caused damage, right, with you, and they felt sorry for it. But it wasn't until they took that seriously.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, and it took a couple of weeks of it, and I felt sorry for the student, and more than one actually, that was on the other end of it. But they were persistent, and they stood their ground, and they had talks with me and the other teacher as well about what they could do to try to counteract it or whatever, and everything's a lot better now.
That's amazing the way that you handled that. And Nicole Lyons actually made an interesting comment in the chat box. She said something about taking it personally, and Nicole says it helps you to not take what they said so personally when you realize it really wasn't them. And by them, she means like their prefrontal cortex and where logic and reasoning reside, because that part of your brain wouldn't do something like that. It doesn't make sense, even evolutionarily, to be mean to another human being. But Nicole is saying it was really their lizard brain. And I do think that, I mean, I will, my ultimate story of bullying is having a former student of Sandy Hook Elementary School who was bullied during his entire schooling, isolated. And I mean, the stories that came out of that were really sad, and they made me feel compassion for him as another human being. His mom sent him to school one day with a backpack filled with birthday invitations for his sixth birthday, but into his first grade classroom. And he handed them out to all of his classmates, and no one came to his party. I mean, it was just kind of a consistent string of things that happened, that regardless of who you are, you feel for that person because you can put yourself in their shoes and you understand how they would feel. And so that led to ultimate isolation. And of course, his lizard, if you understand Choose Love, you know that we label the parts of the brain, and the reptilian brain is the one that would, turn around and come back and perpetrate that crime. So it's something that we, and the interesting thing is the bullying really wasn't out there. They did not want to make that public, but the bottom line was, despite the fact that it wasn't in the reports, it wasn't reported in the paper, I had classmates of his that told me specifically that they had witnessed that. And so it's true. And that's the damage that it can cause when you don't have, like Marissa, you had a tremendous amount of pain, but you also had a mother that was very loving, and you had the social and emotional intelligence to be able to take that and turn it around, make it, I'm sure it's part of why you became an educator and what you put into your classroom every single day. And then your mom did too, but there are people that don't grow up in that environment, don't have parents that help them, and so then they can ruin their life. So anyway, continue, Sharon.
Right.
You said ruin your life. I do want to say that I did almost take my life once because of it. I told my parents that I was sick, and I remember we hunt, so we have guns in our house, and I know what a gun can do. And I remember I had it in my hand, and I was like, I'm done. Because even though you say don't take it personally, when that's all you hear, you can't help but not take it personally. And you start doubting yourself. And I remember I had that gun, and I was like, I'm done. Like, why do I want to keep doing this and dealing with the pain of everything? And we're religious as well. And I remember God told me it will change. And then shortly after that is when I actually started modeling. And that helped build my confidence. And the modeling aspect turned into the teacher aspect of, I can actually be a role model for all of those others who are being bullied, who are hurt. And there are kids who come up to me and they're all like, Miss, like, I kind of just want to take pills and be done with it. And I'm like, don't, like, and then you talk about it. But it's one thing to say, like, don't take it personally. But when that's all you hear every day in school, that's all you do. And so that gun was my way out. And obviously I'm very thankful. I did not take it. And it definitely molded me into who I am now. And as an adult, I have acne. And now that I'm pregnant, I have double the acne. I'm like, yeah, y'all can't handle it. But you still get bullied. And it's one of those things where you have to, I mean, you just deal with it. But it's part of life. And I wish there were more people who understood that it's a choice. and that if we choose not to say it, like it's okay. Like it's not gonna like change you or anything by not saying it. So I don't know if my mom knew about the whole gun situation, y'all, so I apologize.
I think you're fine.
But like it does get that way. And I actually I had a friend who did take their own life because of it. Actually, I think I had more than one. Because you can't live with that for too long before it truly starts eating away at who you are deep down in your soul. And so
It becomes an internal tattoo is what I read in the book the other day. It literally becomes an internal tattoo.
and it just takes time to like, move over and get past it and stuff. And so I know when mom was talking about writing this book and everything, I looked at her and I was like, seriously? Like, really? And I mean, yes, I'm biased. She's my mother, but I think this book is amazing because it does promote choosing kindness in a world where a lot of people just don't, sadly.
Right. And choosing kindness when you don't even really have to choose kindness. In the book, the caterpillar doesn't really have to do any of it.
That's true.
But he just decides he's going to, because that's who he is in his heart, actually.
Yeah.
And I think some people don't know that it's a choice.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you do have to have some sort of awareness and some skills and tools. And if all you've ever known is abuse or bullying yourself, then it's kind of hard to act differently than what you know. I love what Mary Haley said. She's our Connecticut Choose Love ambassador. She said, this reminds me of Dr. Chris Cook's book, Compassionate Achiever. Dr. Chris Cook was one of our book club authors. And he's also a board of director of Choose Love. But he shared that you don't have to have empathy to understand or express concern. She said, Sharon, I imagine the power of the words, it hurt my heart. It is known that expressing disappointment rather than anger tends to get through to others more effectively to hold the foundation of compassion. And I love that. And then Tiffany shared that she has been, sorry, my chat box isn't, okay. In her district, she says that many of their grade levels have been using the wrinkled heart activity and the book over the last few weeks. When working through the wrinkled heart activity, this has been amazingly impactful with students. It was so hard for them to intentionally hurt someone else's heart in the activity. And then applying this to actual situations after that, it has hit home more to help them in truly understanding the impact of words and actions. You take a piece of paper and then you wrinkle it up and then you try to unfold it. But even when you unfold it, those wrinkles are always there. You can't get them to go away no matter what you do. And that's what, hateful words, bullying words can do to someone.
Yeah. When someone says the words, they say them and then they're gone. They don't think about them again, but you internalize them. The receiver of the words internalizes them, and then they stay in their head and they play them over and over. Hence the internal tattoo of I'm worthless.
And Jesse Saperstein says he's given eulogies at 2 funerals for his friends on the autism spectrum. And he knows that bullying did not help as far as the path to their suicides.
Right.
Unfortunately. Does anybody have anything that they want to add? Nicole, are you thinking anything about anything, or Yannick? See you on there.
Hi guys, thank you, Scarlett, for inviting me into the conversation. I was also bullied at a very young age, and I think it's so hard when you're in that moment and you're that age and all the attention is being focused on you, and all you want is to not have the attention being focused all on you. It's so much for the receiver to deal with. And I do wonder if I had known about tools like the Choose Love formula, if the reason I said that about the lizard response is that I might not have had the social emotional skills or the skills at all. It takes a lot to be able to say, oh, the hurt person, that person is so hurt. And so the fact that everybody is lined up while I'm walking in the door off the bus and singing this nickname about me, like, it's just so hard, right? It's so hard to do, especially when you're in that moment and you're that age. But to me, there was some comfort in learning later in life about the lizard brain and that idea that, like, in a way, they can't help it. In a way, it's like an automatic response, and it isn't really about you. It's something that is going badly in their head in that moment. And I don't know. I just wonder if, when I was in middle school, I don't even know what year it was, but no one was talking about even bullying. So there was no attention given to it. But I really honor everybody who's sharing their stories and want to reiterate that this is a safe place for that. And I think we're all really amazing people who want to do better and want to teach our children how to do better. And so I'm open to any and all thoughts and feedback on that front.
Yeah, absolutely. Jesse said something in the chat box. Somebody had mentioned internal tattoo. It's like an internal tattoo. Sharon, that was very visual. And he said the internal tattoo would be, I am worthless. And
Right.
that's kind of like what you get out of that. But I will say that social and emotional intelligence can help you to I agree, Nicole, that I wasn't coming home in middle and high school and telling my mom how how I feel such compassion for the girls that were being so mean to me. That's for sure. But I think that I also did not have social and emotional intelligence, and I was taking everything personally as that it had so much to do with me, when I think that social emotional skills, tools, and attitudes let you know that it has more to do with them, right? But that's not until you get older, and then still, we want to, we want to help that before it gets to something that's a crinkled heart, something that you have a crinkled heart in you, and you are always going to have those creases. I see Yannick. Yannick, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
I know that this resonates deeply with you, the concept of bullying, because you found yourself, Yannick is an orphan genocide survivor from Rwanda. And Yannick lost his entire family in the genocide. He's now an ambassador for Choose Love. But Yannick, you had kind of a unique situation where, well, yeah, you could say that there was ultimate bullying going on between the Hutus and the Tutsis when one tribe is trying to wipe out the other one completely with hatred. That's genocide. That's bullying taken to, a huge degree. But then you also had bullying from the Tutsis as well. So you kind of had a very unique situation. Do you mind sharing about that?
Of course not. I would love to share my story. But first of all, I want to say, please don't use your gun to take away your life.
Yes.
Future is bright. I'm telling you, because, I tried to hang myself to commit suicide a couple times, but it didn't work out. So I couldn't even be here. So never try to do that. And let me just say a little bit about bullying. I had a bullying situation since when I was young in the primary school. I was just, bullied with the kids because I had a big scar before if you can see, I had this car.
Yeah. So that was from a machete.
Yeah, that was machete.
Trying to
I'm sorry.
behead him, and the scar goes, and he never got medical attention. So it was always an open wound.
Yeah, the people, they always just, exactly as the kids, they used to cut your hair. The kids, they used to come and touch on this. Oh, what's going on here? What happened to you? You used to steal some stuff and they cut you with a knife or something. And when I went home after school, I used to just, knock the door and cry because I had nobody just, to share the story. Glad you have your mom, next to you. You can go ahead and talk to her. You got your husband and a beautiful family. I can see the music right in the background. You can just, play some music and, as the music is like a therapy, Yeah, please don't take out, when you say like how you got gun, I was like, you gotta be kidding me right now. What are you talking about?
That was years ago, I promise.
Oh,
Yeah, no, that was years ago. That's when things were super duper bad. But no, I will totally agree. Don't ever take your life. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. But yeah, no, continue.
yeah.
Go.
I would say in this country, because I'm here, I'm not gonna live in this country for a long period of time because I'm looking forward to go back home. But this country, you Americans, you really need like a campaign, very serious campaign about bullying in a school, primary school, in a high school, even in universities, some universities, because it's very serious, even in the communities. Forget about this coronavirus, because everybody's home, the kids, they learning, online, just, sitting in front of your computer and, do everything right there. And guess what? Everything is going to get worse and worse because of, this bizarre time, And it's, for you, some of you who believe in God like me, let's just pray for this, that's all we have to do because it's out of our control. So thank you. That's all I have to share with you right now. So I'm gonna keep listening to you because you have amazing story.
Thank you so much, Yannick. Thank you. And thank you everybody that they're sharing their stories in the chat box. I hope everybody is looking at that. Sharon, I had promised everybody that you would read your book. Would you do that for us? So Caterpillar Kindness is going to be included. Thank you very much, Sharon. What a gift in the Jessie Lewis Choose Love movement. She's done a beautiful job reading it for us. So those of you teaching this, you'll be seeing her book. But I just loved kind of the full circle of how, now Marissa's story and how I see it kind of culminating in this story, which is really beautiful. So it did take a beautiful turn. And I know, Jessie, there are times when it doesn't. And honestly, that's one of the reasons that I started the Jessie Lewis Choose Love movement. It was, my son was murdered in one of the worst bullying, publicly displayed acts of bullying that there has been. And I knew that could have been prevented. And I'm talking about the incredible distress and anger and hatred that the bully had, that could have been prevented. And so that's what I've dedicated my life to doing, and not just for kids like Jessie, but also for kids like the shooter and like the bullies out there. Because if given a chance to have loving, kind, beautiful relationships, I know that they would choose that. But there's something within them. There's lack of skills and tools. There's an anger. There's a hurt that doesn't allow them to do that. And they're so, they want to just fit in as opposed to belonging, and they got it all wrong, right? And they need to be redirected in their efforts for sure.
Yes.
So Sharon, I'd love for you to do us the honors.
All right. So now being a teacher, I have to show the pictures and everything, right? And you will hear the voice change because there's a lot of little voices in here. I want to show first though, After I read the book to my class, I went to the board and I had each of the children give me ideas about, for each little section of the book, what act of kindness did the caterpillar show? And we wrote them on the board, and then we had them make this little craft, which they made a caterpillar,
Oh, that's
we-
adorable.
and we just did the chains, and each one of the chains has the act of kindness that they said the caterpillar did.
That's
And so-
adorable.
And you'll, as you read the book, as I read the book, you'll see that the pink heart means something. And what I did was I took all of them and I made this humongous green heart and I hung it on the wall, and then I put these on it, and it's still on our wall. It's part of our February Choose Love decor.
I love that. Will you take a picture of that for me as well as that caterpillar?
Sure.
Okay, great.
Actually, I have it on my phone, so I'll send it to you because I have
Could
the whole
you,
thing.
and could you write up instructions for that activity?
Sure.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. thank you.
Absolutely. All right, so Caterpillar Kindness, written and illustrated by Sharon Hughes. Dedicated to my wonderful daughter, Marissa, may all of your kindness and giving be blessed.
You can read it. I'll show the pictures. How
Oh,
about
okay, good, that'll help.
Yeah,
Thank
there
you. One morning, a tiny, colorful caterpillar hatched from a tiny egg. As he looked around in his new world, he noticed that the leaf he was on was shaped like a heart. He was born with a need to eat leaves, but just couldn't bring himself to take even one bite of this beautiful heart-shaped leaf. So he wiggled to a neighboring leaf to nibble away his morning hunger. Beep, trumpet. Here. As soon as he arrived at the new leaf, he noticed that the heart-shaped leaf had grown a bit. That's interesting, he thought. Soon a tiny grasshopper happened to hop onto his new leaf and began to nibble away a chunk of tasty green. As he was chewing, he noticed the caterpillar. Oh, I'm sorry, is this your leaf? I should have checked to see if it was vacant before I began eating. Oh, that's okay, replied the caterpillar. I've already eaten breakfast and you look very hungry. Besides, there are plenty of leaves on this bush. I'm more than happy to share, but please don't eat the heart-shaped leaf. Oh, and by the way, I tell my students when I'm beginning the book, there are a lot of changes that happen in the book, so pay attention. Again, he noticed that the heart-shaped leaf grew just a bit. That's very interesting, he thought. The next morning, the caterpillar nibbled away at a leaf on the bush. That was quite tasty, he said. Just as he was finishing his breakfast, an inchworm inched its way toward him, nibbling as he inched. Since he was nibbling rather than watching where he was going, the inchworm bumped into the caterpillar. Oh, pardon me, said the inchworm. I'm a bit clumsy when I eat and inch at the same time. No worries, replied the caterpillar. We all get clumsy at times. I finished my meal, so I'll just move out of your way. Enjoy your breakfast, he called back as he wiggled to another leaf. Oh, and please don't nibble on the heart-shaped leaf. Once again, he noticed that the heart-shaped leaf grew just a bit larger and was changing color from its dark, lush green to a bright green. That's really quite interesting, he thought. On the third morning, the caterpillar was quite hungry and nibbled away 2 whole leaves. As he was wiping his mouth with a piece of moss, he noticed a small beetle shivering under a nearby leaf. Hey, are you okay? Why are you shivering? Asked the caterpillar. In a very timid voice, the small beetle replied, I was playing hide and seek with my brothers and sisters, and now I can't find them. I'm afraid. Maybe I can help you look for them, said the caterpillar. Oh, that's very kind of you, said the beetle. Thank you very much. So they set off side by side to search for the beetle's family. As soon as the caterpillar returned from the beetle search, he noticed that the heart-shaped leaf had grown again. Now that's extremely interesting, he thought. On the 4th morning, the caterpillar gobbled up 3 leaves. Just as he was swallowing his last bite, he heard someone quietly sobbing on a nearby branch. He turned to see a baby locust sniffling and wiping away tears. Hey, is there something wrong? Asked the caterpillar. Well, yes, there certainly is something wrong, replied the locust. I'm supposed to be swarming with my family, but I'm too small to keep up with them. They left me behind and said they'd come back to get me later. I'm lonely and I'm bored. That's no problem, said the caterpillar with a huge smile. I'll keep you company until they return. We can play some games together. Just then, the heart-shaped leaf grew even larger and changed from bright green to a pale green. This is getting to be an interesting phenomenon, thought the caterpillar. On the fifth morning, the caterpillar ate 4 leaves. As he finished his meal and licked his lips with a satisfying smile, he heard the very faint sound of music. Intrigued by the sound, he wiggled from one leaf to another until he came upon a small cricket. He tried to be very quiet so as not to disturb the music, but being so large, a twig snapped and alerted the cricket to his presence. The music stopped and the cricket tried to hide. Oh no, please don't stop. Your music is beautiful, said the caterpillar. You're surely not talking to me, replied the cricket in surprise. But I am talking to you, said the caterpillar. Please play some more. No, replied the cricket in a very shy voice. I'm not any good. Oh, don't get me wrong. I want to be good, but I'm afraid that will never happen. I'm just too small to be a good musician. Nonsense. You have beautiful tone. Why, I bet if you keep practicing, you'll be the best around here. Now let's hear some more of that wonderful music. With new confidence, the small cricket picked up her legs and played as though she were a concert violinist. As soon as the cricket began to play again, the heart-shaped leaf grew a bit more and began to change color from pale green to pink. Thought the caterpillar, that is most interesting indeed. On the 6th morning, the caterpillar ate through 5 leaves. As he swallowed his last bite, he let out a burp. Oh, excuse me, he said to no one in particular. That's quite all right, said a nearby ladybug. I tend to eat a bit too fast myself sometimes. By the way, have you seen any aphids around here? I've been flying around all morning and can't find any. I'm afraid I will soon starve. Well, actually, I do believe I saw a group of aphids hiding just over there under the 3rd leaf past the heart-shaped leaf. I've heard that they are quite greedy and will eat everything in sight. I'm afraid they will eat my precious heart-shaped leaf. Thanks, I'll take care of them right now. I was beginning to wonder if I would ever get to eat again. And with that, she flew over to the aphid-infested leaf and enjoyed a wonderful meal. With a sigh of relief, the heart-shaped leaf grew even larger and began to change to an even brighter pink. On the 7th morning, feeling quite hungry, the caterpillar wandered around eating through the last 12 leaves on the bush. As he patted his chubby tummy, he began to look around. He noticed there were no more leaves on the bush. Well, none except for the bright pink heart-shaped leaf. With fear, he said, what will I do tomorrow morning for breakfast? All of the leaves are gone. I grabbed 2 pages. To his surprise, a small fairy appeared from under the leaf. I've been watching you, she said. Every day you have shown kindness in both words and deeds. You have also protected my leaf from being eaten. I know that you need one more day of good nourishment. This leaf has more than enough nourishment to help you prepare for the big change you are about to experience. As a token of appreciation for your kindness, I give you this leaf. Enjoy. Giving him a kiss on his cheek, you have to add that, she flew away. The next morning, the caterpillar looked at the beautiful, bright pink, heart-shaped leaf. He bowed his head and said, thank you. Then he nibbled it away with a deep feeling of appreciation. The end. And that's it.
Oh, Scarlett, you're muted.
Come back, Scarlett.
Sorry, the teacher in me.
That was awesome. That was awesome. You're getting a lot of applause, I was saying, and someone posted on the chat, Shreya posted on the chat where you can purchase the book. And and that will also be in, Sharon, you also made a video, and we're going to have that in the Choose Love movement for the educators that are on here. Lots of educators on here wanting now to turn around and not only probably read the book, but also do the corresponding project that you showed us initially. Yeah, that was such a good story. Everybody saw that. And there's like some really beautiful sharing on the chat box for everyone.
Thank you.
And so good to see everybody's faces. We're about ready to wrap up our hour. Do you want to share any last words of wisdom, Marissa and Sharon, and any other last kind of sharings in the chat box?
Just to try to help all of your students realize that kindness is a choice, and you need to keep kindness in your life. I made these little bookmarks. If you order a book and you let Scarlett know, she can give me your address, and I like to send these bookmarks because they are autographed, and it says, "May kindness always be a part of your life," because that is what we need. You always need to be kind.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And not just for a week.
For
But-
always. It's a heartfelt lifetime choice.
Yeah, every day. Every day, I think that life gives us opportunities to practice our kindness, whether you're young or you're old. And so look for those opportunities and say, right, this is exactly what she was talking about. I'm going to be kind now. And the great thing about that is it makes you feel good.
Like the book shows the heart growing, your heart, you can feel your heart growing and swelling with happiness and joy when you're kind to someone. And they might not even say anything to you, that you might not ever get a thank you, but you know what you did and you know how you feel. And the more you do that, the more your heart grows. It's kind of like the Grinch, you know, your heart just keeps growing the kinder you get.
I was going to say that.
That's one
I
of her
was
favorite
thinking
movies.
the Grinch, so I'm glad she said the Grinch. And Stacy, right? I've also heard that too. Stacy's mom taught her that if you have nothing nice to say, say nothing at all.
That's
And
right.
that's always a good rule of thumb as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
All I
thank
want
you
to say
so
out there
much.
is,
Are you reading all these beautiful comments?
yes, I love the comments.
Yes, thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, it's so good to see everybody. Thank you so much for choosing love and for joining us tonight. And thank you so much, our special guests, Marissa and Sharon. We really appreciate you. Please look for our podcast, more of this great discussion, and we'll have many more. And we just love you all. Thank you so much for showing up and for being a part of this discussion and adding so much value to it. Thank you.